Tree work is a dangerous job. Tree workers can suffer injuries, including amputations, electric shock, bee stings, and even death while doing tree work. To work safely, tree workers must be properly trained prior to doing the work. Cal OSHA and the Hispanic Arborists Association developed this safety training video to promote safety in the tree care industry and teach you how to climb and trim a tree safely. Employers may use this video as part of their employee training, but they must also train their workers on the hazards and procedures specific to their work. In this video, we'll talk about personal protective equipment, also known as PPE, and demonstrate how to use climbing equipment, chainsaws, and other tools safely. We'll also demonstrate how to use a wood chipper safely. First, a qualified tree worker needs to inspect the tree and its surroundings. Look for signs of rot, such as mushrooms or other fungi. Are there any branches hanging in the tree, also called hangers, that could fall and injure you? Are there any birds or other wildlife nesting in the tree? Any bees or beehives? Or electrical power lines? Always assume power lines are energized. Never perform tree work if any part of the tree is within 10 feet of a power line, maybe even more, depending on the voltage. Also, make sure the area around the tree is clear. This is your drop zone where the tree limbs will fall. Workers not directly involved in the pruning or removal operation must stay out of the drop zone until a qualified tree worker directly involved in the operation says that it is safe to enter the drop zone. If the tree or the drop zone is located where it can affect public streets or highways, then you'll need to use traffic controls. If you use a flagger, they must be trained on how to properly flag moving traffic, and they must wear high visibility garments like vests or jackets. The qualified tree worker needs to determine the safest way to enter the tree to perform the work. The qualified tree worker must also direct all tree work and ensure clear communication among the tree workers on site. Here are the PPE you'll need. Head protection. Hearing protection if you could be exposed to noise above the permissible limit. Face protection, like safety glasses or a face shield. Hand protection. Chainsaw-resistant leg protection in the form of pants or chaps if you're using a chainsaw. Protective footwear based on chainsaw manufacturers' recommendations, and the PPE assessment required of employers prior to starting the work. If the qualified tree worker determined that climbing is safe, you will need to use climbing equipment. A climbing rope, work positioning lanyard, and a tree worker's saddle. You must always inspect the climbing gear before you use it. Look for damage like cuts and abrasions, and make sure the stitching and rivets on your harness are intact. If you find any damage, don't use the equipment. It may not support your weight in the tree if you fall. When you put on the tree worker's saddle, make sure you buckle all the straps and pull them tight. A whistle can help with communication, which is critical to avoid injury. Climbing spikes or spurs can damage the tree, so they are often not used. However, they may be used when performing certain jobs, like tree removal, or to help you climb in the event of an emergency. Alternatively, mechanical ascenders help you climb the rope, especially when you are trying to position yourself in the canopy away from the tree trunk. If you'll be using a chainsaw, you need to start it on the ground or some other supportive surface. That could be a sturdy tree trunk if you're using it in the tree, but always make sure no one is below you first. Never drop start a chainsaw. And never climb with the chainsaw running, even with the chain brake on. For battery-powered chainsaws, the same precautions apply. If the chainsaw is 15 pounds or lighter, the climber can ascend with the chainsaw clipped to them. But heavier chainsaws must be supported by its own line and raised into the tree. Now we're ready to climb the tree. Start by choosing a suitable branch that will hold the weight of you and your equipment. Then throw your climbing line into the tree. When working in a tree, you must have at least two means of attachment, such as a climbing line and a work positioning lanyard. Connect one end of the work positioning lanyard to one D-ring and the other end to another D-ring on your belt. Test if everything works while you're near the ground in case something is wrong. Once you verify that all climbing equipment is secure and ready to use, climb the tree. When you are in position to make the cut using the chainsaw, you must secure your second means of attachment so you are double tied in. Employers must establish clear communication procedures. For example, it is a good practice to call out with "clear" or some other call to attention.
Clear. Clear.
Then the ground crew will respond with "all clear" or something similar. Climbers should also carry a whistle. Tie a lowering line on larger tree limbs before you make the cut. Never use a climbing rope for this purpose. Once any rope is used for lowering a tree limb, do not use it for climbing. Blowing a whistle can alert the ground crew of work that's going to start overhead.
Clear.
Always follow the chainsaw manufacturer's recommendations and use two hands on the chainsaw. This ensures that neither of your hands are in front of the blade.
Clear. Clear.
Yell "clear" or some other announcement before dropping a cut limb. This tree limb is small enough that it can be lowered safely with only a rope. But for any bigger limbs, the use of a rope break will reduce the load on the ground personnel as they lower that big limb to the ground. And this is especially a good practice with all larger limbs, as they could cause a lot of damage or injury if they fall on something or someone. When you move in a tree, you need to reposition your climbing line. Keep your work positioning lanyard connected as the secondary point of attachment, so you're always tied into the tree with either the rope or the lanyard. Sometimes it may be safer to start a cut with a chainsaw and then finish with a handsaw. When bringing hand tools into the tree, secure them to yourself. Don't hold them in your hands while climbing, unless it's a climbing aid. If you are using pole pruners or pole saws, only use those with non-conductive poles and non-conductive actuating cords. When you are all done, detach your lines and descend in a controlled manner. Pull the rope out of the tree and take care when putting your climbing gear away. You must store rope coiled and piled or suspended so that air can circulate through the coils. Store and transport rope in a manner that will not allow it to be damaged by sharp objects, gas, oil, or chemicals. Next, we'll discuss wood chipper safety. Never wear your climbing equipment while operating a wood chipper. Be sure to remove that beforehand, or branches you feed into the wood chipper could snag on it and pull you in. Also, make sure that all ropes are removed from the branches before feeding them into the chipper, or they will pull you into the chipper or cause other serious injuries. Remember to use traffic controls if the wood chipper or brush chipper is set up on the side of a street. Before operating a wood chipper, always inspect it. Make sure there is nothing in it that could interfere with its operation or create safety hazards, like fuel cans or tools that got inside. Wood chippers with a mechanical infeed must have a quick stop and reversing device on the infeed. The activating lever for the quick stop and the reversing device must be located across the top, along each side of, and as close as possible to the feed end of the infeed hopper and within easy reach of the operator. To feed branches into the wood chipper, always stand to the side of the center line. This helps you to avoid being pulled into the wood chipper. We hope this video helps you to work safely. However, there are many more safety precautions to take while performing tree work. For more information on tree work safety, go to the Cal OSHA webpage at www.dir.ca.gov/DOSH and click Tree Work Safety. Employers can also contact Cal OSHA Consultation Services at 1-800-963-9424. Office locations and email addresses are on the Cal OSHA website. Workers can contact Cal OSHA Enforcement. Find your nearest enforcement district office on the Cal OSHA website. Scroll down to see all these links, plus links to the Cal OSHA tree work regulations and publications below this video. And a special thank you to the Hispanic Arborists Association for their assistance with this video.